Imagine a legal system without lawyers or judges. A crime is committed, the smart contract is executed without a trial or an appeal. An Uber picks up the criminal and takes them to jail, all in under 20 minutes. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it's actually possible in the world of Lex Cryptographia. Let's talk to crypto lawyer Silke about how blockchain technology is disrupting the legal system. Silke, welcome to the Daily Drop.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Look, I'm so excited, and and just for the show, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited because I have been scouring the earth looking for somebody to talk about this, and everybody thought I was a crazy person, and then you were like, you're not crazy, it's real. Okay, so before we get into Lex Cryptographia, because I'm very excited about this episode, let's start with the legal system. How would you define the legal system?
First, I think there are many different legal systems in the world. Every country has its own legal system, and then some countries have more than one legal system, like the US. Each state has its own legal system with a federal system imposed on top of it. The term legal system is a bit elusive, like a soap bubble or crypto wealth. Lawrence Friedman, who is one of the main legal scholars, American legal scholars, on the subject, suggested that a legal system is a whole network of rules and processes that attach legal consequences to particular behavior. So he suggests the law are the rules and the regulation, but to breathe life into all of those rules and regulations, you require further structures, right? And those structures are institutions or processes, and they make up the legal system. So first you have the substantive rules, the law. Then you have rules about those rules, like procedural law, which court has jurisdiction. And then you have what they call the culture, the legal culture of the country, the people's attitude towards the law. I personally prefer a definition where the legal system functions as to accept social control and to settle disputes. So the legal system has two aspects, the agency of conflict avoidance and the agency of dispute settlement to achieve social organization. And most jurists believe, and let's come back to Lex Cryptographia, that laws can only be laws when they are backed, endorsed, drawn up by jurisdictions, by states, by nation states, adjudicated by nation state courts and tribunals, and enforced by nation state sanctioned law.
Okay, let me just jump in for a second. I mean, I think you're the smartest human being I've met in my entire life. So I'm just like, very, very cool. I can't wait to get more into Lex Cryptographia. But let's stick with the legal system for a second, though. So do you believe that the contemporary legal system, I know there's many definitions, but let's try to find like a general legal system definition. Do you think that it procures justice right now?
Okay, so I'm a lawyer, right? So I like to define this. So it depends on the legal system we look at, but and many jurists, and I think everyone says that justice is not definable. However, this has bothered lots of people since Plato. And I think the definition from Lord Denning, an English justice, is the best to summarize it shortly. So justice is what the right-minded members of community believe to be fair. And so justice equates to fairness, and therefore the question becomes, is the contemporary system fair? Most people probably say that the contemporary legal system or the legal systems, they strive to fairness, but they're challenged in procuring it. And look, I mean, there are a lot of things you can improve. So first of all, in many jurisdictions, small claims are not prosecuted, or there's no fairness in all of this. Because, for example, I get regularly friends asking me, hey, I have this dispute and I'm owed €1,000. And most of the time, the lawyers are just too expensive, right?
Okay, you know what? That's a good point that you just made there, right? Because money really does impact justice, right? For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Let's go to the break and let's talk about the future, Lex Cryptographia. I've got Silke Noah here on the Daily Drop. Welcome back to Daily Drop. Okay, so I want to just have that overview of the legal system because the future potentially is this concept called Lex Cryptographia. Did all this research, I didn't quite understand it, but I thought its implications were very powerful. Can you define it? What is Lex Cryptographia?
Again, it's hard to define, but what people think, and I think, is it embodies the blockchain's ecosystem's belief in the power of numbers and data, and that the community can create laws and legal systems through programming, coding of smart contracts, right? So blockchain here is seen as a control technology that replaces the law, that replaces the legal institutions I just mentioned, and also introduces a new legal culture, which are those three aspects I mentioned make up the legal system. So we no longer have to trust in institutions that are rooted in specific legal systems that might be biased, and that are rooted in specific territories like the United States or Germany, and in specific languages. So ecosystem participants in the blockchain ecosystem, they are free to trust and opt into coded quasi-legal structures of smart contracts. Then they are then used to regulate and initiate those relations, a multiplicity of relations. Then ecosystem participants can associate with those who are close in interest and value, not in space, not in territory, and create their own deterritorialized, autonomous, opt-in, polycentric justice system.
Right. So like, let me try and translate a little bit, right? So I think, because I'm just learning here too, right? But essentially, it's like implementing an autonomous legal system without intermediaries, right? This is really what Lex Cryptographia is? Is that correct?
That is what a lot of people see it as. So the intermediaries here would be the judges, the lawyers, the law enforcement. And what smart contracts can do, and what Lex Cryptographia aspires to, is that you get rid of all of them. So in fact, there's only one thing left, which is the coder who codes the contract. This code is defines the relationship and is also self-enforcing. So those intermediaries, you don't need them anymore. I mean, in theory.
Right. So, and again, in my opening monologue, I sort of theorized what a world could be. It sounded like science fiction, but is it possible? Do you think that there could be a world without judges and lawyers, and could this world actually be more efficient?
So let me first think, there are certain tribunals in some jurisdictions, like in England, where you don't have lawyers in employment tribunals in the first instance. That's considered more efficient. So there's already an indication that maybe it could be more efficient if you got rid of all the lawyers. Then there are inquisitorial models where you just have a judge and no lawyers, and the judge is trying to ascertain the truth. So you're really getting in the right direction for this. Is it more efficient? I think the problem is that you still have issues with the coding of the smart contract, because the person that codes all of that in a way is the legislature, it is the lawyer, and also the enforcer, the smart contract, in the end, the smart contract enforcer. So it could be more efficient, and I think there are a lot of opportunities where the current legal system can be made better, but it can also create something really dystopian. So,
well, I definitely want to get into the dystopian aspect of it in the next segment. We got a minute left. It is interesting, though, right? Because so it's true, right? There's already sort of all these systems in place where you don't really have a typical, here's a judge, here's a lawyer system. So you're already sort of compromising. So it's really about how could a computer interpret laws through a smart contract. Is that correct?
It's about interpretation and also about the enforcement. So in a way, the interpretation would be the legal court cases, in our current system, if you get to that. So no, actually, the first one would be how do you comply with the contract? That would be the interpretation of the smart contract. And then if there's a bug, or if there's not, and the enforcement would be the transfer, the transaction.
Let's get into the dystopian aspect after the break. This is a fascinating subject. We've got Silke Noah here on the Daily Drop. We're back. So the Daily Drop. Okay, we're talking Lex Cryptographia. We need to get into the dystopian version of it, though, right? Because it really, once I heard about it, I read about it, I was like, is this real? Because it really just seems like an episode of Black Mirror, right? This Lex Cryptographia thing could go really wrong. Like, if you've got an entire legal system essentially based on computers with no human beings, that's really what we're talking about. It's not hard to see how that could transmogrify into a dystopian version of itself.
I mean, yeah, you have these ideas where basically smart contracts are enforcing contracts. So let's say you don't pay your lease of your flat, and then you can't enter anymore because the key lock just does no longer work. And some of these aspects you already have. For example, you might have a car, you have a lease, you don't pay your, monthly payments, and then, your car doesn't start anymore. In a lot of countries now, it's illegal to do that because there needs to be due process, or we believe generally that there needs to be due process. I, however, believe in a polycentric future, and I also believe there will always be, in the end, some form of human involvement, even if it's just for the most complex disputes and for the most high-value disputes. There won't be just one smart contract that rules us all or something, I think. Because there's so many, it will be modular. You'll have more options in choosing your jurisdiction.
It's interesting, though. It is a debate, though, right? Because if you think about crypto, they're talking about FTX, right? The FTX disaster, and how if there were aspects that use DeFi, right, instead of them acquiring more leverage, right, more debt, if it was DeFi, they would have just been liquefied, right? And so there is an inherent efficiency for kind of doing things wrong, right? It's almost like you break the law, go to jail or be punished, or at least it stops you from, committing more crimes. So that's the other side of it too, right? The problem is that there's not really any human being to interpret it. But again, if you look at something like the George Floyd incident, I mean, human beings are not always making, the kind and moral decisions.
No, so, but the question is whether, the humans, you would probably say that they fail because of emotions and because of their discretionary power, which they can enforce discretionarily. So they don't like the person, they're biased, they're racist, so they enforce a different way. Right. I think, as we have seen, was in the last several years on DeFi, is that computers can be corrupted too, and it's mainly hacks and cyber attacks.
Right, so that's a question I have, right? So what happens if a smart contract is programmed maliciously on purpose?
So I think with this whole cryptographia sphere developing, what you're going to get is that these kind of contracts are going to be before a panel of arbitrators that would assess the buggy code. And that panel of arbitrators would probably be a decentralized on-chain dispute resolution forum. And these forums are already starting to be built. The question is also what you mean, what is malicious? Is it that the parties ask the contract to be drafted a certain way and it function a certain way, and then the coder did not follow the instructions? I think that would be definitely a dispute. some more simplistic understanding of cryptography, known as Code's law, would suggest that smart contract does what it's supposed to do. Like, so if, it does what it's supposed to do and you find kind of a loophole to do something else, then that is the law. But we've already seen with the DAO hack many years ago that the community doesn't see it that way. I mean, they then forked the blockchain and reversed the hack. So I don't think the future of Lex cryptographia is going to be only Code's law, because humans and coders and computers make mistakes in coding, and the complexities of a system are really hard to code into in a program. It makes us believe in numbers, and the new religion of data in a way.
So, Silke, Noah, you are blowing my mind. You got to come back. I have so many thoughts, but we only have you for one more segment. I've got Silke Noah here on the Daily Drop. Back to Daily Drop. Hey. Okay. It's funny. Like, if there were like emojis to describe my experience right now, it would just be, the guy in his head, he's got like a cloud of smoke. I'm like, what is happening? Is this realistic? Okay, so we were talking about a legal system without intermediaries, run by smart contracts, which means computers, right? Essentially, it means computer code, implementing the legal systems and punishments and all of these things, right? Is this realistic? Is this just a thing that academics are kind of writing about, being like, oh, that'd be interesting? Or is this going to happen?
Academics are really definitely writing about it. It's a very good topic to write a PhD on. But I think it is realistic. Some of this is definitely realistic to some extent, especially if you look at what's going on with international arbitration or dispute resolution. You already have on-chain online dispute resolution, mainly done by AI. You already have on-chain dispute resolution systems that, like Claros, that have started this process. So for sure, some of this is going to happen. Like, the legal profession is going to change profoundly. You already see like lawyers and coders, they're merging. You have coder lawyers. It's very hard to now make a career without being able to know a little bit about, well, I think you can still do it without at the moment, but in future, I don't think it's possible.
It's funny. So I see it kind of the way, like, blockchain it's disrupting the entire financial system, but it's not really like everything is going to be DeFi or everything is going to be crypto or TradFi is gone. It kind of like takes the conversation in a different direction. Maybe parts of it will be automated. Do you think that the legal system is really that? It's going to be a combination. You're not going to eliminate human beings, but in certain instances you can eliminate human beings.
Yes, I think for low value cases, for sure. That's already happening. I mean, when we look at platforms such as Amazon, we like them because we know that they always side with the buyer. They have their own justice system on the platform in a way that has nothing to do, or very little to do, with the legal system. And this process is just increasing. It's accelerating. People can opt in. You have all these. People are talking now about the network state or the network states. The holy grail or the basis of any network state, if that's supposed to work, will be an on-chain autonomous justice system. But we will still have lawyers or lawyer coders or whatever that new profession will be that tries to make this more fair. That's what I think, at least.
I mean, look, Silke, you're blowing my mind. Have you written a book? Is there a book coming? Because I'll read it. Can you promote your Twitter for anyone, I don't always do this, but I think because you're just so interesting every time you tweet, just for the audience.
I mean, my Twitter is Silke Noah, at Silke Noah, my name. I don't tweet that much. I only tweet when I feel it's important.
Yeah, but every time you tweet, I
I'm
retweet
writing a
it.
book on autonomous. Thank you so much. I'm writing a book on autonomous justice on this topic. It's not out yet.
Okay, well, I'm
So,
definitely going to buy it. And look, I just appreciate you coming. I've learned so much. I definitely want you on again. And, you know, I get all of your tweets. I appreciate you, Silke Noah. Thank you for coming.
this was great. Thank you so much.
Will society ever get to a point where we essentially automate the legal system? It's hard to say. They have automated cashiers at the grocery store, replaced waiters with robots, cars drive themselves. So if you implemented laws on the immutable blockchain, tracked private citizens with their own money, CBDCs, then executed smart contracts when they committed a crime, how much faster and more efficient could the legal system become? Now, some people would fall through the cracks, but the reality is that already happens today. Is this science fiction or a concept ahead of its time? Only time will tell. We'll see you next time on The Daily Drop.